Today we are doing an axle back exhaust review on this 2024 Subaru WRX. Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Gray and this is Living Like Gray, and today we are doing an axle back exhaust review. If that sounds cool to you, be sure to subscribe down below, leave a like on the video if you want to see more videos like this. With that said, let's go ahead and get into this review. Now, we just recently put this exhaust on and we've driven around with it for a little bit to kind of get our overall impressions of it so we can tell you guys whether it's worth your cold hard cash. Now, in the last video, we actually installed this exhaust, so if you guys want to know how hard the install is, we'll link that video down below. Today, I want to tell you guys exactly what I think of this exhaust, from how hard the install was, the build quality, the sound, price, all of it. First, I'm gonna start off with exactly what these exhausts are and kind of what you get for how much you spend. Now, these are the Remark 3.5-inch axle backs. They're about 415 bucks for the 3.5-inch ones, and if you guys want a little bit more volume, Remark also offers a 4.5-inch axle back that's just a little bit more money. I wanna say it was like 430 to 450 bucks. Because the way the exhaust is on this car is really the only muffling comes from the mufflers in the rear, which these axle backs completely eliminate, and then the turbo up at the front with the headers and then the catalytic converters. Other than that, there's really not much in terms of muffling, whether it's a resonator or a muffler, all the way through the exhaust stream. Now, this exhaust is going to give you a pretty substantial increase in volume with a nice deep growl at idle. Along with that, probably my favorite feature of this exhaust, you're going to get some nice pops and bangs on the upshift and downshift. Not too many, just a couple, one or two on the upshifts and downshifts. That is without any tune or anything else done to this car. Only the exhaust will give you that, which I haven't seen on any other car, which is really, really cool. That massively increases the fun factor of this car, which is really what you want on a Subaru WRX. If you guys stick around later in the video, we're gonna give you guys some sound bites of this exhaust from it driving by, and then also inside the cabin so you can see what it's like when you're driving. Now, moving on to installation, this was the easiest exhaust I've ever installed, hands down. If you have no experience working on cars and you have only a couple of tools, that is all you need to install this exhaust. We have an awesome installation video that I'll link down below that kind of dives into exactly what you need to do to put this on yourself, but I don't think it's worth it at all to pay someone else to put this on. You don't need to lift the car because of how high the car is stock. It's only 4 bolts and then 4 total hangers, 2 on each side, to remove this exhaust and put the new one in. If you've never worked on cars before and you're wanting to get into it and you have one of these cars, this is the best first install that you can do to your car. Overall, I'm gonna give the installation a 10 out of 10. Hands down, the best one I've ever done. Super easy, you can do it in less than 30 minutes if you know what you're doing. And if you have to Google some videos on how to install it, you're probably even just looking at 45 minutes or so. Next, we're gonna talk about the build quality of these exhausts. Now, Remark isn't as well known as a brand of NVIDIA or Tomei or some of the others, but overall, I think they did a great job with these exhausts. The welds are really nice, and then the overall coating and chrome of these exhaust tips are really well done. There's no real imperfections. They came with some really nice hardware, which I love seeing nice hardware and not reusing the stock hardware. I like nice new hardware. It makes installs so much easier. Along with that, they gave you gaskets, which I'm pretty sure the stock exhaust didn't even have a gasket on this piece. So I'd say the build quality of this is a solid 10 out of 10. Now, especially when you're talking about price. The price of these I mentioned a little earlier, they're about 415 bucks for the 3.5-inch and about 450 bucks for the 4.5-inch. Now, if you are comparing the price of this to other axle backs, the price ranges from 120 bucks all the way up to 500, 600 bucks, maybe even up to 800 for resonated axle backs. So for the non-resonated axle backs, I'd say you're sitting around the mid to high range on these for price-wise. Now, I do think that the build quality justifies that. However, Remark is just not as well known as some of these other brands. So if that bothers you and you want a more well-known brand like NVIDIA or Tomei, you're gonna be spending a little bit more money. However, I would also stray away from some of those other cheaper axle backs because you're gonna lose out on build quality, fitment, you're gonna start having fitment issues and maybe even more drone with those cheaper exhausts. I'm gonna give the pricing about an 8 out of 10, 8 to 9 out of 10, because it is on that upper higher end, and Remark isn't as well known as some of the other brands, but I think that the build quality and the fitment justifies that price range. Now, I did want to touch on the looks of this exhaust. It looks substantially better in the rear. It improves the rear of this car quite a bit. Now, the rear end of this car is not its best feature. That is pretty much commonly agreed upon in the WRX community and just the car community in general, these definitely enhance the look of it. You get a little larger exhaust tip. You can get these in a rainbow titanium tip, a chrome tip, or a black tip, depending on what look you want to go for with your car. Now, overall, these do enhance the rear end look of the car, but if we were to do them over again, we would probably go with the black tips just because we think they might look a little bit better than the chrome tips. But if you're going for an OEM plus look, the chrome tips are probably your best bet. Now, if you are wanting that black tip, it is gonna be about $100 more, so that does add to your cost. And so if that's worth it to you, go for it. If you're fine with the chrome, I think it does look pretty good overall, and you're saving money if you're going with the chrome instead of the black tip. So I think that's enough of me talking about it. Let's go ahead and do some flybys and then also get some in the car footage so you guys can really hear what this car sounds like. This is a start up and some revs on the Subaru WRX with the Remark 3.5-inch axle back.
Rev it like a man. Vroom, vroom.
Okay, so we're in the car now. I'm gonna do some interior driving so you can hear what it sounds like to actually drive with this exhaust on. We're not gonna really speak to the drivability of the car itself. Just wanna kind of get some audio clips and then give you guys my thoughts about what it sounds like to drive with both the windows up and then the windows down. After that, we'll do some nice flybys so you guys can hear what it sounds like from the exterior. So I'm just gonna do some chill, easy driving first. Kind of ease into it. Kind of what you would get normally if you were just driving this car around town. Nice, super easy shifts. Really, the volume of it isn't too crazy at this speed and RPM, especially with the windows up. With the windows up, I'd say it's like the perfect volume. You get the nice sound and tone, but it's not too loud on you, just driving around town. Now I'm gonna kind of get on it here. And as you can hear, whenever I do a hard shift from second to third, you get some nice, just 2 or 3 little really aggressive pops. From the outside, it sounds crazy. Again, it's not too loud from the inside with the windows up, and you can pretty much do that on downshifts and upshifts. Basically what you have to do, build up some boost with the turbo and do a pretty aggressive clutch in and shift, and you'll get those pops. So I'll do it again. It's pretty consistent. It's almost on demand, and that's one thing that I love about this exhaust is there's no tune, nothing, and you can get those really nice, aggressive, sharp pops out of this exhaust. Now what I'm gonna go ahead and do is roll the windows down so you guys can hear what it sounds like with the windows down in the car. So if I get on it again, you can hear that was a really aggressive pop. The pops, I'd say, are the loudest thing that you're gonna get out of this exhaust, and that is something that really changes when you roll the windows down. With the windows down or up, the volume of the exhaust just driving around isn't much different, but those pops are substantially louder with the windows down. I'm telling you, the fun factor of those pops is perfection. It is amazing. The nice thing about the pops is while they are pretty much on command, you don't necessarily have to do them. It's only when you do a really hard shift, when you build up boost and clutch in really fast. If you don't want to do the pops, all you got to do is bleed off some boost by pushing in the clutch a little slower or letting off the gas a little bit before you shift. All right, so we got a little bonus. We've got a tunnel here that we're gonna do a little tunnel run with the windows down so you guys can hear what this exhaust sounds like through the tunnel. right, so those were probably some of the best pops and bangs that we've gotten out of this exhaust. Again, they're just so sharp and so controllable. You could do them on both upshifts and downshifts. But the nice thing is, no tune required, and if you don't want it to pop and bang, like if you're in a neighborhood, it is so easy to have it not do that. But at the same time, if you want to be all hot boy and have everybody look at you in the 5-mile radius, it is very easy to do as well. We're gonna hop on a highway that we can go about 70 to 80 on and get some nice cabin footage and see if we can showcase what it sounds like with that drone at higher speeds. So we're going about 70 right now, and to be honest, the drone isn't too bad. I'm gonna go all the way up into 6th gear. We're at about 2,500 RPM, and the drone's not too bad at 70. Okay, so we're sitting right around 3,500 RPM. If you notice, the drone, it's kind of there. It's nothing too bad. The nice thing in the WRX is you do have that back seat to kind of reduce some of that drone coming from the trunk. For example, in the BRZ, you have a back seat, but it's substantially shorter of a distance. The drone, after a while, would kind of get to you. It's not as bad as some of the exhausts that I've heard that aren't resonated. Again, this isn't super loud. If you went with the 4.5 inch, you're gonna get substantially more drone. Overall, that drone isn't too crazy, but it's not exactly super comfortable to live with after a while. As you can hear, at around 3,500 RPM, if you're holding that tone's gonna get to you after a while. And definitely not ideal, I would say, if you want a comfortable car. Now, if you're okay with a little bit of drone and some higher volume as you drive on the highway or at higher speeds, this exhaust is going to be perfect for you. That is really the only downside to this, is that drone. It's a great price point, it's an easy install, and you're going to get those nice crisp pops and bangs. The main downside, again, is that drone. It's not the best thing to deal with, but I have heard way worse out of some other exhaust brands. If you go cheaper or if you go a larger diameter pipe, you are probably going to get that drone a lot worse. But I'd say it's probably a necessary evil that you got to live with if you want an exhaust to sound this good at lower speeds and RPMs. Why is your car so perfect? Like, this exhaust, I haven't really driven with this exhaust too much. Logan's been kind of just giving me his impressions and I've been relaying them. But driving with this, I like this more than my Subaru BRZ exhaust, which is an NVIDIA catback. That drones like crazy. The drone, to be honest, is not terrible. I could see it getting to you after a while, but since the WRX does have so much more kind of soundproofing inside the car and it is longer with that trunk, it's not as bad as, again, like a Subaru BRZ. But the pops are so controllable. My BRZ doesn't pop. If it is, it's like a little blip, 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 blip. This, no tune. I'm so shocked by this. No tune, and it has very, very controllable pops. We're gonna go do some flybys now, and we're actually gonna also show some of the flyby footage that we got of the stock exhaust before we installed the Remark exhaust. One thing I do want to add is, in the city, this thing is tons of fun. Stoplight to stoplight, you can get those pops and bangs. You don't need to be going 100 or something to be getting the most out of this exhaust. It's not too loud, but you get plenty of volume out of it. But the nice thing is, this thrives super well on back roads as well. Whether you're in the city or driving around in high-speed toge back roads, this exhaust is really, really just perfect for both of those scenarios. And that's pretty much gonna wrap up this exhaust review. Overall, if you want an affordable exhaust that's gonna increase some volume and get you some nice pops and bangs, this is the exhaust for you. However, if you do a lot of highway driving and you have some neighbors that you don't really want to piss off, then maybe you want to look for some more quiet options that are resonated so that you're not going to be getting as much drone at those higher speeds. Overall, I love this exhaust. I would personally run this if this was my car. This is Logan's car. Plus, it was super easy to install with not many tools that were needed to do the install. If you guys like this style of content, be sure to leave a like so that I know to make more videos like this. And if you're not already, again, be sure to subscribe. It really helps support this channel and it lets me know that you guys like the content that we're making. And be sure to leave a comment down below of what videos you want to see with this car or any of the other cars that we have on the channel in the future. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.
Are you gonna windows down?
1 second.